Hi everyone, I'm Mark Murray and welcome to this edition of CityVision. As you can see, I'm out here with Blue Baby, or I think it's officially called Hatched, is the sculpture. But we're here at the Fitness Center, and we're here for a reason, because we're going to talk about Film Hamilton with a few special guests. We'll see you on the other side. Hi everyone, I'm here with Mindy Muller and Steve Colwell from Film Hamilton, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell you about what they do. Mindy, we'll start with you.
My name is Mindy Muller, and I do the development side of Film Hamilton, trying to put together all the pieces of the business side.
Okay, and Steve, what about you?
I guess I'm more of the production side, helping out where I can when films come to the
location spotting, things like that.
Locations, definitely a big part of the job, but helping them from a technical side as well if they need something. We also have our studio space at TV Hamilton that we've opened up to allow filmmakers to.
Yeah, I know a little bit about that.
Kind of come in
space
and offer that up to them as well.
Okay, well, let's talk about Film Hamilton. How did the whole idea come about?
Well, back in 2012, early 2012, I am on LinkedIn Cincinnati, and there was a gentleman who put out some feelers to get office space for a pilot that he was doing for a comedic show that he was trying to pitch. And so he had put out a call to see if anyone had office space that they might be willing to use for that location, as a location for that. And so I contacted him. His name is David Towner. And I sent him a virtual tour of our building, and he came down, looked at the space, loved it, and decided to book it for the weekend to do his pilot episode. And then he said, you know, I need a courtroom. And I thought, well, the old city building has the old council chambers. Yes, it looks very much like a courtroom. So I said, let's walk down the street. And so we went down to the old city building and looked at the space, and he said this was perfect. And so as he was looking around, he's an aspiring filmmaker, and he said, wow, this would be a really great place. We have lots of architecture, lots of cool buildings. This would be great to try and market to the film industry. And so Steve and I have been in conversations many times over the years. My day job is to help nonprofits get funding. And so we had talked about the possibility of marketing Hamilton to the film industry. What would that look like? And so it really just kind of grew from there. Had a great experience with Dave Towner and that whole pilot episode, and just decided we need to make Film Hamilton become a reality. So that was kind of how it got started.
And I can remember shooting a promo. You had a number of folks, Steve, involved in the promo for that, which was introduced in October of 2012.
We officially launched in October of 2012, yeah.
Okay. All right, well, let's talk about what happened since then, because I've got projects that had gone on, and I know there's some of those you want to talk about a little bit. So what movies have come through? What happened since October 2012?
Well, we had our kickoff breakfast that October. And had a lot of excitement. It was the first time we kind of introduced the concept to the general public, and we had some good attendance there. And then we went and attended the American Film Market in LA in November. And there were 4 of us that went out to that to just try and
I wasn't one of them, by the way. I didn't get to attend.
I was wondering, you didn't tell me anything about that. Okay, now I know why.
But we went out and we just kind of went into the Filmmakers Lounge and just listened. We had gone up to the Ohio Film Office and gotten some material from them, learned about the tax credit that's available in the state, and then just decided we needed to really dive in and see what the industry offered, what filmmakers were looking for, and came back with some really great information. We met a lot of prospects, got a lot of names and contact information, and really decided that probably the $1 to $5 million film was what was going to be attracted to this area based on what we were hearing. And so that kind of gave us some general direction. And then we also were promoting our first film festival, which happened in 2013 in April, and learned about Without a Box, which is this great website that helps you market film festivals. And that was kind of our first big event, was a film festival we did in 2013.
And from our numbers standpoint, in our first one, we had 50 submissions from literally all over the world.
Really?
And 16 of those, I believe, filmmakers from outside of Hamilton came into Hamilton to see the film festival.
For the first time, that seems pretty impressive to me.
We were pretty pleased with that.
Yeah, very good. So what does Film Hamilton do? I mean, what exactly is that to a production company, for example?
Well, I think from my viewpoint, we're like the Chamber of Commerce for filmmakers. They can come to us and we can offer them and connect them with services. And I've said it before, and I'm not saying this in a disrespectful manner, but we're not offering freebies for filmmakers. We're not offering free crew or free equipment or anything like that. We're trying to make the connections to the services that they need.
Okay.
And because of that, because we have been reasonably successful, some places have offered discounts or something like that for filmmakers, but we're not trying to find, hey, we've got a free camera here for you to use or anything like that. That's not the case. But we try to make the connections, because that's the one thing that we learned from David Towner. He said, man, and he was only in town for a weekend and a half maybe, and he said, I had trouble finding this service and that service, and I was having to bring all this in outside. And we sat down and it's like, well, all this is here. Why did he have to leave Hamilton to get these services, or why did he have trouble finding these services? So that's kind of what we got started, was assembling just a database of here's what we have to offer as far as services. We've tried to create a page for here's crew people or those who are interested in being on cast, which I know you want to fill your page out really quick.
Yes, I do. I'd like to have an IMDb credit one of these days.
We'll talk to John about that. And then we had locations, because we have so many unique and varied locations. So we tried to photograph and get those assembled, just to say, here's what we have to offer. But the locations alone will not attract a film to your area.
Well, I think there's a misnomer too. Is Film Hamilton for profit? Or is it a nonprofit?
We are set up as a social enterprise.
Okay.
We have. There's really no money coming through there at this point. It's really just a way to organize the effort. So we have the logo and we have marketing materials that we've put together that we can send out to people interested in promoting their location or promoting their service. It's just kind of right now, kind of the hub by which everything is gathered.
Okay.
There's not been any kind of financing that's come in. One of our challenges, because originally we set it up as a way to bring money into TV Hamilton, we haven't quite figured that piece out yet, how to bring the resources to Film Hamilton. But it certainly has done the other things that we set out to do in providing that place that filmmakers can come and learn about what our community has to offer.
But I think it's important to know, I mean, is there salaried staff?
No, not yet.
You laugh. I know, because these are the things that people say to me. Well, they must be getting big bucks.
Right, and one of the crew people, crew members from Tiger, shared one of our links, and it was where we had set up, you can donate to help Film Hamilton. Our website is funded by Mindy, and and this person replied, well, they're bringing in multi-million-dollar movies. They're making a fortune? And it's like, oh, we're not really. So, but Facebook, everything everything's accurate on social media.
Yeah, right.
But that is a perception that we're making.
Well, I know,
all this money.
That's why I say I think this is our opportunity to kind of explain all that. So now I'm from a production company. I'm a producer. I'm looking to come to Hamilton. What requirements do you have in order for Film Hamilton to be involved?
Well, the tax credit is the thing that has really been pulled people here.
That's the state tax
That's
credit.
the state tax credit. So just to even qualify for that, you have to be a 300,000 or more production. And then we require there's insurance before we would seriously look at helping a production, because it is our time and effort. It is, everything that we do is donated. Everything that the logo design, all the production materials that we've done, marketing things, have been self-funded. So we really want to help the locations, but or the productions, but they have to be able to bring some economic stimulus to this community. And so they have to at least have a $300,000 budget, be willing to come here and scout locations, and have be properly insured. I don't know if there's anything I'm missing.
Well, the insurance was not only for their safety, but for ours, because if we get involved with a production that's not insured, we then open ourselves up to liability.
Yes,
so, and we've had folks, well, you're not helping out us, no budget filmmakers. And well, I don't want to lose my house over this. If somebody destroys somebody's property and they eventually come back, well, Film Hamilton did this production. No, we didn't. So that's why we have steered away from, if your business can't even get insurance, then we can't get involved. And I've had a couple like student level productions that have said, and I've suggested locations, but no way are we going to get involved like we
officially
have with the other productions.
Right, understandable. Well, but who benefits most, or maybe not most, but who benefits from these production companies doing their movies here in Hamilton?
What's a local business? I mean, aside even from the production budgets, their crew members are going out and eating in our restaurants and shopping in our stores, and there's a lot of that economic benefit that's not even in the official numbers. But they're here, and they're using our services here and our businesses here, even outside of the production. So it's all of the local businesses that are around.
Well, one of the questions that I've heard most often, I know you guys have seen this in the paper too, is, everybody says, well, if they're getting all these state tax credits, are we getting something more in return? And what's your answer to that?
Well, I would think from a financial standpoint, yes. In the states that have a very aggressive tax credit, they're doing that for a reason. They're making the money locally. So whatever, and I'm sure John can talk more to the numbers than what I can, whatever they're spending locally, we're getting that here. The money is being turned over inside of our economy, not sent off someplace else. So that's one benefit. But like Mindy said, the production company will probably, on average, I would say, feed them 2 meals a day. Well, the ones that are in from out of town still have to eat a third meal a day, usually after working 12 or 14 hours a day. So they're eating in our restaurants. They stay in our hotels. Long Home, for example, came, and I believe they they had to stay in 4 different hotels because of the number of cast and crew that was brought in. And great problem to have. Our local
Absolutely.
Marriott was full. So we had to look outside. They had to go out into Fairfield and Springdale to find places for everybody. So great problem to be having. If we had conventions that brought in that type of business to the area, you'd be jumping up and down. The film's the same. It's like just a small business that's here for 3 months.
Okay, well, somebody sitting at home watching us right now, how do they get involved with Film Hamilton? Is that possible?
Absolutely. Our website has many opportunities. And we keep those, keep a database of people who are interested in being extras, people that have some skills in some of the ancillary services like hair and makeup or chauffeuring or any of the things that production companies need. They can fill out a form on the website, and anybody that has some production experience. We have quite a few people that have submitted their information to help on a crew. So all of that's on our website. They can just go there, find their right tab of production or crew or ancillary service and fill that out.
And they're welcome to donate.
Absolutely.
I didn't want that to get left off.
Have to put that out there on the table. Of course, we'll run the website on the screen, but what is the website?
It is filmhamilton.com.
Okay, very good. What's next for Film Hamilton?
Well, we have some more productions scouting. There are several that have scouted the area. One thing that we don't do, and it's not because we don't love self-promoting, but a lot of the production companies don't want that info to get out too early. So there are things going on behind the scenes that no one knows about or shouldn't know about. A select few know about because we don't broadcast it every time we get a inquiry from a film company wanting to come to the
Okay, so you're not going to tip any secrets here?
Sure will not. Our lips are sealed. But there are films that are looking at Hamilton right now. There's about 3 very viable projects, but as we mentioned, the big holdup is the state tax credit. They're not going to come if they don't get the state tax credit.
And one of the things on our plate for 2016, particularly mine, is to really lobby for that and to go to Columbus. They need to understand the impact locally. I think they do because they have been supportive of that. Sure. But the more we can do to try and even expand that tax credit in Ohio, it's just going to benefit us.
Okay, can we talk a little bit, I mean, before we go, because we do have other guests on the show today, but can we talk a little bit about the last production and maybe some of the Hamilton plugs that were made?
We can. I would love to. We filmed, or we didn't film, we were involved with the filming of Tiger, which starred Mickey Rourke and Janelle Parrish, and John can talk more about that. But they came to Hamilton, they got the tax credit, came to this area because a lot of the producers had worked here previously on a project, so we had that relationship with them. We have the infrastructure in place too, which is a good thing. So when they came here, they wanted to set the movie in Hamilton. It has no bearing on the script whatsoever,
I
but
understand.
it saves them from Greeking out a lot of logos and Hamilton signs and things like that that would be in their shots. So it's set in Hamilton. Well, as I was looking over the script early on, one of the scenes it specifically said there's a bottle of water at each table, and
The world's best tasting water.
we are Hamilton, Ohio. We have the world's best tasting tap
Absolutely.
water, so which happens to be bottled. So we had some conversations, and of course, Mayor Moeller was extremely excited for that opportunity. So we supplied some water for the film. So Hamilton water's in it. TV Hamilton mic flags, and I'm not sure what all of Hamilton is going to show up, but Hamilton will be very present in this film.
Good. That'll be fun to watch.
It will be.
Absolutely. Well, Steve and Mindy, anything else before we move on to our next segment that you'd like to get across to our viewers?
I think it's just exciting. I appreciate all the excitement that we hear. There's a lot of social media buzz. I think people are excited when they see the cameras and the trucks and all of that around town. So get involved. I mean, people want to volunteer. There's lots of different ways to get involved and to be part of the excitement.
Great. Well, thank you both for your time today. Now, don't you guys go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to talk with a couple of folks who are involved in the most recent production here in Hamilton. We'll be right back. And we're back, and I have with me John Wagner and Sean Stidham. Now, John is a producer and director. I did a little research. His IMDb credits go back to 2004. Says he grew up in Cincinnati, studied film production and creative writing at Bowling Green State University, and went to LA in 2005, but he came back, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And Sean Stidham is the director of sales for Courtyard by Marriott here in Hamilton since 2008. And he also does the sports play-by-play for WMOH and SundaySports.com. Thanks, guys, for being here.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Well, John, I'm going to start with you. What made you come to Hamilton?
Well, there was a group of filmmakers coming in for a film called The Echo Effect at the time. This was about a year ago. And I had done a movie with the director a couple years before in Cincinnati, way out in Goshen, Ohio. And they called me up and said, hey, we're going to be in Cincinnati. We want you to be a part of it. And we're in scouting, can you help us out? And so I said, sure. And I went and we drove all over Cincinnati, checked out a bunch of little towns, Lebanon, Loveland, downtown Cincinnati. And sort of the last thing we did was I said, you know, I haven't been to Hamilton since I was in high school, maybe 20 years ago. I mean, a really long time ago. And I kind of remembered it as being, honestly, this sort of kind of grungy place that I didn't think too much of when I was there. And I said, well, let's go check it out. You know, it might work for the film, and you know, it can't hurt, and it's not far from where we are now. And we went out, and even just driving in right through the downtown, I could tell there had been this great resurgence. I don't know how long it took.
Changes.
Exactly. And I thought, this is a really neat place. And just immediately you can tell in the downtown, I mean, you can shoot the downtown as a big city if you want. You can shoot it as a small town. There's all this great scenery. There's the suburbs. There's these great factories. Some of them still working. Some of them are closed, which is a great sort of cinematic set piece to use. And we went over to the courthouse and just asking around, like, hey, is there a mayor or somebody around we can talk to talk about filming? And we just, by dumb luck, happened to be standing right next to Greg Lynch, who works for the newspaper. Mm-hmm. And he said, hey, if you guys are shooting a movie, you need to talk to this guy, and put us on the phone with Steve Colwell from Film Hamilton. And literally the next day, we were driving around all over the place with Steve and had found almost everything we were looking for that quick. And we knew right away it was Hamilton. And that was a year ago, and I've been here for 3 movies since, and I have no intention of leaving if I don't have to. So.
And your involvement in all 3 films this year alone was what? I mean, just as producer?
I was the line producer. Okay. And so I since almost the very beginning of my career, I've been a line producer, and a lot of people don't know what a line producer does, as opposed to what the difference is between just someone that calls himself a producer or an executive producer. And the line producer is the physical production producer. So I get involved usually. There's already financing in place, the script has been developed, and they say, okay, now we're going to make the movie. Well, we need someone that knows how to make a movie, and so they hire the line producer, and I handle the crew and locations and sort of the actual physical production of the film. And then I stay around for wrap for a little bit to help kind of wrap out the physical end of things, and then usually I move on to another project while it's being finished, editing and all that sort of stuff. So.
Okay, can you tell me about any unusual experiences, or maybe it's just some good experiences filming here in Hamilton?
All of it has been a great experience, to be honest. There hasn't been really a negative experience. Every movie has hitches where, okay, we're behind schedule, what are we going to do? But, the tendency is for everybody to stress out and say, oh my God, we're behind schedule, and we're going to sort of, we're not going to get this or going to get that. And I've been lucky enough that the filmmakers I've worked with on these last 3 movies are all very sort of flexible and easygoing and able to roll with the punches. And kind of going in, my attitude with filmmaking has always been a relaxed one. I mean, I take it seriously and I know it's important and there's money on the line, but also, okay, if we miss a shot or we're not going to get this scene, it's just a movie, and like we're going to come up with some sort of solution here, and no one's going to know the difference when you see the end product. And so, to be honest, in Hamilton, all these problems that you kind of would come up with, say you're shooting in Los Angeles or something, here there's just so many people that are willing to help and think it's a really neat thing, and we've never had a problem that we couldn't easily solve by just asking for help and saying, hey, we got to call Sergeant Buns at the police station and say, hey, we wanted to shoot this block, but can we maybe, get a couple officers out here to shut down this road over here instead? Is it going to be a problem? And everybody has just been incredibly eager to help and willing to do whatever they can within reason, obviously.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think there's a mutual respect. We're obviously not going to ask for something that we know is out of line. And if there are times when the police or whoever said, "Oh, I'm sorry, we can't do that." And we said, "Okay, we know you tried," but for the most part, yeah, there hasn't been any major problems. So
good, and we're glad that grunge thing has kind of gone by the wayside.
You know what I mean? And it's and there's of course there's factories and stuff that have been closed down, and that's a great cinematic element to filming, but to the city's credit, a lot of that stuff is going away and they're rehabbing stuff, and so that's great for the city. Unfortunately for us as filming, we lose a cool thing to shoot, but there's so much stuff going on that I don't think we're going to run into any trouble with finding places to shoot in Hamilton anytime soon.
Yeah, no, you'll get no argument with me about how great Hamilton is. Sean, let's talk a little bit about your role in terms of the Marriott and how it supports films. Can you address that?
Sure. I mean, basically, as much as I love my hotel, the reality is people aren't coming to Hamilton really just to come to the hotel. They're coming to do a lot of other things, whether it's work, play, what have you. And so when John and some of the other films have come in, they're coming in to do business. And so we're able to, and what we do, we take care of people. So we talk with John or whoever the crew is and say, okay, what are the things you need for us to provide so that you can do your jobs better? And that's simply what we do.
Okay, now do you, I guess, I don't know if there's any financial details you can go into, but is there any money made by the Marriott that goes beyond just booking rooms?
It depends. Like, for example, with going back to Echo Effect or Chain of Command, we provide a lot of the catering for that. We did some of the catering for The Long Home. In the case of Tiger, they actually filmed 3 scenes, I think it was, at the hotel. So there were some rental fees with that. But I can't get into specifics, but obviously it's an advantage and it's a plus anytime there's business coming in, and we can help with that.
All right, well, how does the staff handle the stays there? I mean, did anybody get starstruck?
At times. I mean, I think that for the most part, we've talked with our staff, and again, going back to what I said about they're here to work. They're not here to sign autographs and take pictures and that kind of thing. But certainly you're fans of people, and you see someone come in. I know, for example, with going back to Long Home, Robin Lord Taylor came in, and plays Penguin on Gotham. And there were a couple people on the staff that heard his voice, and before they saw him, they said, that guy sounds like Penguin, and then they find that out. But there is some of that. And actually, my opinion has changed because we never like to broadcast who's in the hotel for any reason. But if I know that someone's a fan of a certain individual or a certain show, I might pull them aside and say, hey, just so you know, such and such is going to be here, so they can kind of get ready and
really?
They don't get Star Trek. Yeah, and plus from a security standpoint, because we do have to know who's coming in and how we have to anticipate, what some of those needs might be.
Okay, John, is there anything you can tell us about the last movie that you filmed here, Tiger?
So Tiger is actually based on real events that happened in Canada, and in our film they take place here in the U.S. And like Steve had mentioned, we actually are shooting the film as Hamilton, Ohio, as much because there's no reason not to.
Right.
And Steve mentioned it makes things easier so you don't have to what we call Greek out a lot of signs. So on the echo effect, it's kind of funny if you watch the movie actually. There were a lot of times where you see a police car or the SWAT truck or something, and then the city, of course, generously let us, use a police car or the SWAT truck or whatever, and it will say, where it says City of Hamilton on the side, we just, it was a really low budget movie, so we didn't have a ton of money, so we would just put black gaff tape over the HA in Hamilton, so it'd say City of Milton, it's stuff like that. And so you don't have to do that kind of stuff. It's nice. And the movie, there's nothing, it's sort of a PG rated feel good story about kind of rising up and becoming yourself and fighting for, what's right. And so we thought, there's nothing negative in this movie. That the police are all portrayed very nice. There's nothing bad in the film that anybody would object to having their city associated with. And the people of the city agreed, and we shot it as Hamilton, and I think it's something to be proud of, really, because the story is really kind of an important social story. So,
very good. Well, can we talk a little bit about the tax credit? Because I know there have been some major movies. I mean, in terms of budget, filmed in Ohio. I think The Avengers was one of those. But there is a lot to be said for the smaller budget film, and then the tax credits that go along with bringing you folks in. Can you address that?
The tax credit is everything, really. As much as I love Ohio and love Cincinnati and love Hamilton, the financial reality is these films wouldn't come here unless there is a financial incentive to do so, and that's the tax credit. And so for every dollar we spend in Hamilton or in Ohio, we get 25 cents back on the dollar. And if it's a local resident, we get 35 cents back. And the great thing about Ohio is that it's a dollar for dollar tax credit. So if we have a tax credit that's worth $200,000 at the end of the film, we get $200,000, a dollar for dollar incentive. And that's great for us filmmakers, and that means the state has to have that money in their budget. So that's the negative. So it's a double-edged sword. So the state has to have that money in their budget to pay out those tax credits, so they have to put a cap on it. And so this tax credit has been sort of a victim of its own success. And right now, for example, all the money is used up for this fiscal year. However, it's used up, it's basically spoken for. So if a film drops out or applies and say they're holding up $2 million of the tax credit, well, that's $2 million that the state then can't award to another film. And so right now, for example, I have a film that's scouting this week, and we're just keeping our fingers crossed that the money clears up and we can shoot in Hamilton. If not, we'll go across the river probably into Kentucky, which again, it'd be great to be close to home, but it's not Hamilton, and I really want to shoot in Hamilton. So that's how the tax credit in Ohio works. Other states, for example, Georgia, I think it's basically, they call it a tax credit or tax incentive, and at the end of your film, if you have $300,000 worth of a credit, the state doesn't pay you that money. You take that to a marketplace and you sell it to Coca-Cola or some big corporation for, instead of $300,000, you get 85 or 90 cents on the dollar. And so states like that don't have to worry about a cap because they don't really have to have that money set aside and pay it out.
Right.
And so it'd be great if there were somehow to work out, once our cap is reached on our dollar for dollar tax incentive, it switches over to, a different type of program where then we can sell that award, the credit that we're awarded to somebody else. Things happen slowly, and I'm sure everyone in the state can see that, or in the government can see what a great impact it's having, but things happen slowly, and I think it may be a couple of years before either they raise the cap or possibly explore doing sort of a secondary program after the cap is reached.
Do you feel like Ohio's competitive?
Absolutely. It's incredibly competitive. I get calls several times a month, if not, several times a week, about films saying, hey, we want to shoot. We hear you're in Ohio. Can you tell us about it? And Sean can, even speak to that. We've had, quite a few people come in and scout, and sometimes the films happen, sometimes they don't. But everybody knows about it. Everybody knows, hey, it's the Midwest. There's so many films. It's so much easier to shoot a film about the Midwest, about everywhere America and Ohio, than it is to shoot it in Los Angeles. And word gets out, and a lot of production has left California and Los Angeles because of that to go to various states for the tax credits. And Ohio is very competitive, mainly because of that dollar for dollar tax credit and the scenery and the crew. There's a really good crew base here.
Sure.
A lot of professional people. So.
And Tiger was almost lost.
We almost lost Tiger up until the last second.
Because of the tax credit?
Yeah, we couldn't get the tax credit, so we went to Kentucky. Our producer Mitchell hurried up and got Kentucky to kind of push through the tax credit and say, okay, we approve you. They got really excited about it, and then at the last second, the Ohio Film Office called back and said, hey, this other film just backed out, so there's money available, you guys can come, and we switched back. I mean, this was days before we were
So when you talk about it being spoken for, John, I mean, it's like that was spoken for, they backed out, so then it becomes available.
Yep, and again, I think this film that's coming to Scout this week, I think we might be third or fourth in line, and hopefully there's some big movie that drops out, and then we can all get the money.
Sure, yeah. Well, I know it generates a lot of excitement, all these movies, and that is, the more we get Hamilton out there, that's going to help with tourism. And Sean, I want to address this because I know you're on I want to make sure I get this right, the Butler County Convention and Visitors Bureau. How does, all of this help tourism?
I think what it does is, a couple things. One, and I'm on the board, since it's just me speaking, not from official capacity with the organization, but I think that it helps change the narrative. I think when you see all the different media articles and whatnot that you've seen talking about the films and talking about Hamilton, but you'd also take somebody for, like, say, Janelle Parrish, who has, I think, 1.2 million Twitter followers, and she spends one of her off days at Pyramid Hill, and she sends that out. Now people are going, oh wait, she went to Pyramid Hill, or people say, well, what's going on in Hamilton? Why are all these films coming? And so there is this other effect of people saying, what's going on in Hamilton right now? Let's go find out what's happening. And so people come and they want to see Pyramid Hill now because Janelle went there, or the cast of The Long Home went over to The Drink, and now that gets to be, hey, maybe we're going to see James Franco at Ryan's Tavern or The Drink or what have you. So there is this thing that helps make, almost like improve the cool factor of Hamilton, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, John, these guys tease me all the time here at TV Hamilton and Film Hamilton because I really want an IMDb credit, the Internet Movie Database, and now I do have 22 acres available.
That's true. I heard you were mentioning this to me before we started filming, and there's always the possibility. Like I said, we're going to be scouting next week, so we'll stop by and check it out.
Absolutely.
If you really just pitch it hard to us, I think I can convince them to shoot there.
That'd be a lot of fun.
So,
absolutely.
IMDb's cool. IMDb has become the sort of industry standard. Almost it replaces a resume, which is cool, but it's also unfortunate because everybody does all sorts of work that doesn't end up on IMDb. There's a very specific kind of list of stuff that's on there. So, if someone has done commercials or has become a great cinematographer doing commercials or something like that, they might not show up on IMDb. So it's always a bit tricky to go just by IMDb. And also,
I understand.
Everybody uses this star meter rating that's on there, and that's how they determine how popular you are and whether you're an actor or a producer or whatever. And it's all a bit suspect. I don't know how that's.
But John,
know how that works. So
Steve has an IMDb credit.
He does.
I want an IMDb credit.
I can tell you, it's sort of a little secret is that anybody can add themselves to IMDb. All you have to do is sign up for a free. So you can just go on there and add yourself as the grip for Titanic, and it goes up. It's very little. So anybody that's watching, if you want to be get an IMDb credit, just go add yourself. What's the worst that can happen?
You mean for the 6 years I've been doing this show, I could just go out there and do it myself?
You could. Yeah. You should add this show to IMDb. They would accept it. And put yourself up.
I can't do that.
And I'll add myself as John Wagner as himself. There you go. I'll use another credit. So.
And it would help add to Steve's IMDb page as well. So you should add this to the page.
Okay, I don't know where we're going there. John, one thing I want to talk about too, because it said in your credit that you went to LA for a while, then you came back. Yeah. So what's home? Because if you've got a family, that's got to be tough to be separated for any length of time.
It really is. I grew up on the west side of Cincinnati, in the Bridgetown area. I went to Elder High School. I went to college in Bowling Green, like you mentioned, and I spent a summer in Cincinnati working at a granite countertop shop down off Spring Grove Avenue. Saved up money, moved to Los Angeles, and spent about 8-9 years there. It was great, 8-9 years of my life professionally, and I was there, but I was always there for work, and I always knew that. It never really felt like home to me. I made a ton of great connections, did a lot of great projects, and I certainly had to have been there and done that for me to be able to do what I do now in living in Cincinnati. And so I moved back. I met my now wife when we were in college, and we were friends for many years. And when I did this movie called Seven Below out in Goshen several years ago, I sort of invited her out to set with her son, and we sort of reconnected and started dating. And a couple years later, we got married. And I thought, if I'm going to have a family now, Los Angeles, for me, I mean, I'm sure Los Angeles is a great place to raise a family and whatnot, but for me, I grew up here on the west side of Cincinnati, and that's how I know how to raise a child,
Yeah.
and that's what I wanted for my kids.
I did the
And,
same thing.
Yeah, and
Came back.
moved back. We live in Westchester now. I love Westchester, and I travel pretty often. I go back out to Los Angeles. I've done some movies out there since I moved back a couple years ago, and but to be honest, because of the tax credit, I've been busier here and kind of more in demand here than I ever was when I was in Los Angeles. It's nice to be sort of one of a few guys out here, guys and girls out here. There's a couple other, line producers in the area, and it's nice to be that guy, that people say, okay, we want to come to Cincinnati, and can you help us out? And I'm happy to show people around and do those kind of projects. And I get a lot of calls from people that I worked with in Los Angeles that know I'm out here now, and say, hey, we've heard about this Ohio tax credit thing. We know you're out there. Let's talk. So
Sure.
yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Well, John, thanks for being here.
Of course,
Sean,
thank you.
likewise. Yeah, it was really enjoyed the discussion. And I want to thank you at home for watching TV Hamilton, Hometown Television with a personal touch. And I don't want to forget to thank the good folks here at the Fitton Center and Ian McKenzie Thurley for allowing us to film in their beautiful new theater. If you haven't been to the Fitton lately, you've got to get down here and see what it's all about. Anyway, for everybody here at CityVision, I'm Mark Murray. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around town.